Hi, and welcome to Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude, episode 102, When Change is a Good Thing. Well, let's introduce babies. This is Babaloo, right, Babaloo? Are you the Babaloo? There's the Babaloo, and Peaches. Peaches. Lucy. Cocoa Bird. Hi, Coco. Snowball. Can you say snowball? No? Okay. Cecil. Don't look so dazed. Cecil. And up there in that corner we have Salamander, also known as Jabba the Hutt, and occasionally likes to be called Yoda. Must have a Star Wars thing. Sugarbird. Hey, Miss Preener. Shug. Nope, she's going to ignore me. Either that or she's being Ichabod Bird. When change is a good thing.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success.
I think treated, most of these birds have a good prognosis, and I would say
What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions? How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots? Let them roam around about you and share a life with them. Of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Well, this little one has been territorial, and that may be part of the reason I did what I did, right, Bob? Mix things up a little bit. How are those stitches looking? Bob just had surgery. He has... Come on, Bob, show yourself over here. I'll try to get a close-up of this, but Bob had a lump over his right eyelid. It was actually on his eyelid. And he went to the doctor, and they removed a bunch of what looked like... It kind of looked like fatty tissue. Fortunately, he didn't have cancer or anything like that. Just a little fatty tissue there. Probably an impacted feather. If it swells up again, though, we're going to have to go deeper into it. And I'm not sure. We'll see how it's a little swollen today, but we'll see how it is after 10 days. Right, Bob? Right, Bob? I've introduced all the birds. Now, well, one of the reasons I made these changes in here, changed the entire studio around, is to actually throw them all off a little bit. They kind of got into a rhythm, everything looking the same, especially this one. I was hoping he wouldn't just dig in next to me, but he is. And whether you know it or not, change is not usually a good thing. You have to pick the times that you change pretty carefully. For example, I had one lady, she was telling me that all of a sudden, there you go, watch that phrase, okay? All of a sudden, her bird started getting nippy and seemed to be nervous. And I said, well, what did you change in the room? And she said, well, I didn't change anything. I said, just take a look around and see if anything is different. She stacked some boxes in the corner. There were boxes, big boxes, stacked in one corner. And that's what the problem was. She took out those boxes, and the bird started acting normally. So in this case, change was not a good thing. And like I say, it's not usually a good thing. For example, another woman I was talking to said, well, I haven't changed anything. Well, fortunately, this was, face to face, so I was able to say, the last time I saw you, you didn't have red hair. That's a big change for a bird, going from brown hair to red hair. If you like to change your hair color a lot, expect some moodiness in your bird. They don't like that kind of change in general. But at the same point, let's say that you've noticed that lately your bird is not paying as much attention to you or is turning away from you a little bit. Doing the walk away from you on the perch, going to the back of the cage when you approach. That might be a good time to make a change. Let's say that if you used to have brown hair, go back to brown hair. Change back. Or just, start wearing different clothes. Maybe move the cage to a new location. Move things around, change things up. Sometimes if you've got a problem, changing things up can help. Mr. Territorial here, who's got his spot over here, he's got a whole new way of looking at the world now. He's facing a different wall when he's sitting with me. This is not normal, by the way. For him, normal as in before, when we had the studio arranged differently, he would stay on my side. Now he's sitting up on my stomach. Most of the time he would stay up on my side. The only time he would get on my stomach was when he was being territorial with another bird. Right, Bob? Right, Bob? Babaloo? So, we needed to make a change in the studio anyway, but this seemed like a good time to try to break him out of his usual routine. This one, too, started this thing about going to this end of the couch and then climbing off and getting on the floor. Well, things have changed. She's looking around. She's not doing that, okay? Hi, I'm Don, the Executive Director of the Chloe Sanctuary and producer of Cockatude. I want to thank all of you for watching our videos. Pippa, are you having fun? You want to get up on the shoulder there, girl? I've been trying to come up with a way to provide higher quality videos and also reward our patrons. So now we have a paid account at Vimeo where we can post high quality, high resolution episodes. Right? Tell them all about it. Tell them all about it. Our patrons are the ones who are helping us pay for this upgrade, so only patrons will be able to see our new full episodes. Pippa, the gang, and I would like to invite you to become a patron at patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary. Just a single $1 an episode, we do 2 a month, will get you full access to these enhanced episodes. Right, Pippa? I also plan to upload video shorts on weeks where we don't do a new episode. There'll be lots of stuff inside the aviary, that kind of thing. Right, Pippa? Some behind-the-scenes stuff around here, too. Right? Beak trimming and stuff like that. Yeah, little stuff. So fly out to patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary and join right now. We hope to see you there for the upcoming episode. Don't we, Pippa? Yeah, we do, don't we? Hey, you. And for the rest of them, you bring them in and they're loud for a while, and then as soon as you get the cameras rolling and everything's going, you're doing the episode, they started sitting here quietly. So it seemed like in order to get them a little bit more active, it would be a good idea to move things around. Right? Right, little girl? Coco. This also makes it a little easier for me to get to a few of the birds. I can get to the bird on, both birds on these perches a little easier, and this is a lot closer. So I'm not going to have to get up quite as much when there's a problem. Sometimes the problem is just they're going after my equipment, that kind of thing, so. It's a nightmare to rearrange this room, to tell you the truth, and I hadn't planned on it until just today when I realized that I need to make some changes for Bob so that possibly we can start to break some of this territoriality back here. And I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm going to bring Pippa back in the room with this setup and kind of pretend that I'm doing a video just to see how she and Bob get along. They get along fine in this room if I'm watching. I'm keeping my eye on both of them. But if I'm looking at the camera, that doesn't usually work out so well anymore. So it's usually Pippa coming after Bob and then Bob defending himself. Right, Bob? Now, another change I made, now again making positive changes, is that Bob, because he started screaming since he got his prolapse. So my solution was to put him in a separate room. He kind of trained Pippa to start the screaming routine too, so she's now back with him. They haven't been getting along for a while now, mainly because Bob tried to be friends with her and she didn't want any friends. And that's one way of putting it. He approached her because she's the same species, and obviously that was a positive for Bob. And then she, lunged at him, and obviously every time she would do that, he would get upset. So now they're in the same room, and because they're close to each other, never going to be in the same cage, of course. You don't ever want to do that. But since they're in the same room, it seems like they're getting along better. Now, Bob has always had 2 toys in his cage, and what I'm doing now is like updating those toys frequently. Just instead of making sure they get changed every day, change them more than every day, and switch them out with another toy from another cage, because he started picking his feathers a little bit. He got real nervous about things because of his prolapse. I'm sure that's the reason he started modifying his behavior, right, Bob? I love you too, Peaches. I love you too, Peaches. Oh, look who's staying on the couch today. Now, normally she would be trying to get on the floor, but since I changed things around, now she's not. It doesn't mean she won't develop that habit again. I mean, it can resurge. Behavior can resurge, and you can have it happen again. But this is nice to see her snuggling instead of trying to find a way to the floor. The other thing I was hoping was that by making this change, they would be a little more active, because last week they were sitting here like statues. Statue number 1. Oh, did I bother the Coco bird? Did I shake the perch a little bit? Did I? I wouldn't do that to my Coco bird. Gesundheit. You need, this one has had trouble with her nares. She's been sneezing a lot. So I went to Dr. Young, and she's been on Batril a couple of times because it looked as if she had some kind of a respiratory infection, but we both thought about it, and he suggested that since the Batril hasn't done any good, maybe we should switch to just trying to keep her nares wet. So I'm making a saline solution the same way anyone would make it. You can find a recipe for that online. And then I have a large dropper that I put up against her nair, and I squeeze a little bit of water in each one of her nares, and now her nares are open. When I first started doing it, there was no bubbling, no air coming through them at all. And now when I do it, She actually spits out a little water and then her nares bubble. So that's working. She's rarely sneezing. What's weird is it's raining outside and the humidity's not that high. I haven't figured that one out. We're getting some pretty low humidity days here, and she doesn't handle that very well. So I think it bothers all of them, because you know it bothers us, right? You get a humidity down to 10% and you start going, and your nose starts hurting, you start scratching at your nose, and your throat feels dry and all that kind of stuff. Well, obviously these guys are, you know, they are made to be in high humidity areas, and here they're in basically a desert area. So change can be a good thing. If you've got a bird like Lucy, okay, she did not like to play with toys. So by putting different toys in there, foot toys, sorry Peach, preening you baby, I'm sorry. That's a good girl. By putting constant change of foot toys in there, some days I'll put a box in there for her to sit in the box, that she'll have something to dig at. Then some days I take the box out, so she gets the box a couple of days of the week. The rest of the time there's no box in her cage. I put different foot toys, take some out, put some new ones in frequently, and you know, constantly changing her toys around. All those changes have actually worked to make her start playing with toys. When she first came here, she looked at a toy like, what is this thing? She had no interest in toys. So I moved them around her cage. They're not in the same spots. The hanging toys go in different positions. This is all, Bob, get away from that now. This is always a good thing with birds as far as toys go, moving them around. Now when I say that, there is a caveat. If you've got an Amazon or any non-cockatoo, they're a little more finicky about how you move things around, so be careful. If you move something and they don't look happy about it, you might have to move it back. And with parrots too, it's not easy to put new things in their cage. One of these guys, I put something in there and they back away from it. 5 minutes later, they're ignoring it, and another 5 minutes later, they're playing with it. So that's kind of a cockatoo thing. They aren't as afraid of new items in their environment. Right, Peaches? The same thing is true of food. If you're trying to get your birds to eat pellets, I put pellets into muffins. I put pellets into mash. I put peanut butter on pellets. I put almond butter on, cashew butter on pellets. Do something to spice it up. The other thing is to put something in there that they'll eat, not a lot of it. Some of these guys like pine nuts, okay? Peaches likes pine nuts. This one likes pine nuts. So if I put a few pine nuts into their bowl, they'll go looking for the pine nuts. And then they eat those, and then they look around some more and they, oh, maybe I'll eat that sunflower seed. And the next thing you know, they're eating the pellets. Don't let that fool you, though. Sometimes it takes a year to get a bird to eat pellets, okay? You have to keep trying. Don't give up. It's like the kid that won't eat broccoli, right? You keep trying, and they won't eat anything green. I'm not eating those peas. Come here, Snowball. Well, come on over. Well, come on, Snowy. What's up, Snowy bird? It's a great snowy bird. You don't want to come over? What are you doing then? What are you doing? Snowball. Snowbird. Snowbird. Oh, you're such a snowbird. You are such a good boy. You're such a good bird. This guy talks up a storm. And you put him in here and it's just quiet. Unless you turn off the cameras. You get all these cameras down and he'll start talking. Won't you? The opposite of Coco. The cameras used to make her talk. So as you can see, this change in here has, at least for today, made it so that Peach is not diving for the floor. Another thing is that Snowball normally won't come down to face me when the cameras are up. And he's down here doing that, so this big change in here has been positive. Sometimes you might rearrange your living room and have to move it back. And you may laugh and say, well, why would I do that for a bird? Well, if your bird starts screaming every 2 seconds after you rearrange the room, you may want to put it back. And then do it slowly. Like move one chair, see if that's okay, move something else. If you've got a bird that gets nervous about change, then you want to make those changes incrementally. And whatever particular change is going to bother them, you'll be able to isolate it that way. Where if you change everything around at once, easier to do with cockatoos, but if you change everything around at once, you won't know specifically what's bothering them. Right, Peach? Want a toy? Do you want a stick? No, not really. No, not really.
Peaches is an amazing personality. Her daily maintenance requires dedication and mindfulness. She requires 2 forms of medicine, 7-course meals, and effort to entice her to eat. Extensive preening every day, special tools to trim nails, constant attention to her vocalizations, daily walks, and twice yearly checkups due to the possibility of impacted feather follicles and the nature of her spinal injuries. It seems a common misconception among the general public that parrots are like toys in a toy box. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are complex creatures. Recently, scientific studies have shown them to be at least as intelligent as chimpanzees. Every captive parrot needs special humans who will dedicate themselves to understanding them, those who know their species as it lives in the wild. Special people that understand their social, mental, and physical needs. They need to be understood for what they are, and not as merely human companions, as circus performers to bring smiles. Peaches needs all this and more. She is our special girl. Will you help us care for Peaches? Please make a donation today at our website, chloesanctuary.org. That's spelled CHLOESANCTUARY.org. As a special thank you for your donation, we will joyfully send you a postcard with Peach's happy face.
Now, another time change is good. A good example is Roman. He did not like spray bottles. I assume that where he was, they were using the spray bottles to taunt him. So they were torturing him with spray bottles, squirting him with water to keep him from doing things they didn't want him to do, like snapping and lunging, or nothing I've seen him do here. But so what I did is I got a special mister from Poop Off, and that's what I was spraying him with, and he loves to get wet. He loves to get wet. He just hated regular sprayers. And so what I did one day was I was spraying him with the mister, and then I just reached down and grabbed a spray bottle with nothing but water in it, a regular spray bottle, and started spraying him with that. Well, he really liked that because he was getting so much more water on him, and that's what he wanted. So now he would rather see me bring over the large spray bottle than to bring over a little mister, because the mister doesn't get him as much water. He still likes the mister, but he prefers a regular sprayer. And that was a good change. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. I know. I got to preen you because you can't preen yourself, little girl. I'm not that good at it, but you won't let anybody else do it. Yeah, she's got one feather there. I'm afraid it's going to get impacted if I don't get it out. Because she yelps whenever I try to play with it. I know. We'll get it eventually. Well, another good change was with Sugar. I used to keep Sugar and Salamander apart from each other because they were trying to get too buddy-buddy, and they're male and female. So what I did was I took the perch that she usually liked to sit on, the one she's on right now, and I moved it to a different place and put her on a different perch. The one over on the far wall, which no one is sitting on at the moment. And it's a good thing because I don't have a camera facing that way. And then what I did is I moved. Oh, I'm sorry, Pete. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. Sorry, Peach. I'm petting her down the back, but we're mated to each other, and I have to preen her all the time, so don't recommend that in any other case except when you have a bird like her that because of her neck, I have to preen her, okay? So anyway, then what I did is I moved her back onto the other perch, the one she likes, next to Salamander, and if they started getting closer to each other, then I would say no, and she has learned now that to sit on that perch because she likes it and not go towards him. So the change there was to move her to a different perch, one she doesn't like as much, and then move her back to this one and allow her to sit there as long as she stays away from Salamander. That has worked out quite well. Again, that's a positive change. Oops, I got it. That was the one I was worried about. And if you note, on these feathers, they come in and she can't preen them, so they're hard all the way down. What I have to do is to try to open them up. If they've been sitting there a long time, because I can't preen them all, there's no way, and they won't open up, then I have to wiggle them around until they come out so a new one will grow in. So they don't get them impacted. Right, Peach? Now, another good change was that gentleman up there, Cecil. He's been going after Lorelei, which of course she's not in here right now. She'll come out after we're done with the episode. But the change I made there was to offer him toys when he starts to go after Lorelei. So once he gets a toy in his beak, he's not going to play with her. So it's a change because I normally didn't offer him toys. He gets toys in his cage and there's toys around, but I wouldn't pick one up to try to get him to play with it. The reason change can be good in some instances is because we get habituated. What fires together in our brain wires together. So if you're used to doing something a certain way in a certain situation, if you can change that and just do it a different way, or rearrange things so that you can't do it the same way, then your brain, which is firing those neurons in a specific order, will have to change that. And that'll break the loop. Okay, once it gets wired together, it tends to, it's kind of like the old, the mouse trap, where you hit this and that goes, and then this goes, and then that goes, and you watch all these the ball falls through the hoop, and the hoop, and hits the lever, and the lever trips something and opens the cage, that kind of thing. So that happens in your brain. It happens in their brains. So if you change things around, you can break that loop. So think about that. If you've got a bird that's habituated to you taking them out of their cage at 7 o'clock and you get a new job and now you don't have to leave until 8 o'clock, their body clocks know better than we do what time it is. Or that this happens to me twice a year, the time change. And fortunately in California we passed a new law that allows the Congress to establish whether or not we're going to stay on daylight savings time, and I believe that they're going to switch it to daylight savings time the entire year. And I much prefer that. I always thought it was funny that people would say, well, I don't want my kid going to the school in the dark. then why don't we open the schools at 9? I mean, you could change the time that your child goes to school. You could change that. There's got to be a better solution than changing the time around. All that started pretty much when we had wartime. When they wanted you to get up and, earlier than dawn and work late at night so that you could make a lot of bombs to drop on our enemies, that kind of thing. Right? Right, Bob? Bob? I'm not sure that this change is going to work too much for him, but we'll see. We'll see how territorial he gets when other birds come over here. Are you guys going to do something? Sugar, are you going to do something besides just sit there? Oh, you're going to get mad at me now? I'm talking to Sugar? Yeah, get mad at me. They don't actually get mad, not like we think of anger. They don't do that, but they'll get territorial and possessive of their mates. And I am definitely Peach's mate. Bob, leave that alone, please, you silly bird. You can't hurt it, but... Now, when changes don't work well, like with Bob, I shaved off my beard once. And he just didn't take to that too well. Lunging and biting, and he pierced my ear and all kinds of stuff. I started to grow the beard back, and once I had enough stubble, he stopped behaving that way, right? 3 days? 3 days gave me enough stubble. Right, Bob?
Bobaloo? Hello, Bob. Kisses, Bob? Kisses? Good boy, Bobaloo.
I have seen the joy in Babaloo's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babaloo love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation.
Boy. Kisses? Kisses? Good boy.
My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries, and eventually Babaloo will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day.
Hello, Bob. Bobaloo. Bob's a good boy. Bob's a good bird. Bob's a good boy. Bob's a good bird.
His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babaloo a hand and donate to his medical fund today? Our donation button is on our webpage at www.chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to say, "For Bob," in the notes when you donate. Now, certain changes take some time for them to get used to. For example, in the morning, if I have a volunteer come, which we're out in the boondocks, so it's hard to keep volunteers, but if I have a volunteer get here and some of them haven't actually got their food presented to them, they may not eat because they're more interested in the volunteer. Again, that's a positive change in that they want to interact. That's positive. The problem is they're not eating. Okay? So I try to make sure that they're fed before volunteers show up. Right, Bob? He's one of the worst on that, too. If somebody comes here and he hasn't eaten his breakfast, he won't eat it. Because he just wants to know people. He's a real people bird, and everybody's afraid of him. It's so sad. Right, Bob? Pichu. You? So if you're going to change something, think about, in some cases, think, well, we've got a problem here. What if I change things? Try to see how you can change the environment. If they're bored, you can add things to get their attention, even if it's a TV set or something they can watch. Music in the room, some positive thing. These guys like music. They'll dance to it. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of 50s music. Right, Bob? Now, in Bob's case, one of the changes I made was to move him to a different room, and he does have company in there. It's not like he's all alone, but I had to establish a little bit of a separation because of his screaming behavior. Right, Bob? Roman is another example of the way I've used change to improve his situation. He's nervous about leaving his cage area. So I take him into the kitchen, he'll get nervous. I can go into the kitchen, I can do his nails, and if I have to trim his beak, I can do that. Once I'm done with that, though, he'll start looking like, I want to go back to my cage. So what I've started doing is while I'm holding him next to his cage, I sit down next to his cage. Well, this sitting down completely changes the way he interacts. Normally, he'll sit and kind of put his head on my chest and kind of put his head down like this, and roll his eyes closed. When I get him on my lap, he opens and clacks his beak. Bob, don't do that. He clacks his beak. That's another positive change. If I wear a long sleeve shirt, he can't pull the hairs on my arm. So this is part of a retraining thing. Again, it's a change to cause a change in behavior. There he is trying to get to me so he can pull those hairs, but he can't see them. Right, Bob? Right, Bob? You little monster. So, just sitting down is enough of a change to change his behavior. But any change you make in the environment or yourself is going to affect them. So keep that in mind. Watch the environment. Watch what you're doing and see what kind of effect it causes. And some little changes I make just in the normal routine based on what I'm doing. For example, when I do each bird's nails twice a month, and I have a board and I mark it down. I do one bird a day. And so I do a bird and mark it down. Well, for example, with this big guy right here, the Snowball, when I do his nails, he doesn't like to get sprayed down in the morning, okay? So when I do his nails, after I've given him a bridge, I'll say, good, real high-pitched good. It's a terminating bridge, means we're done. And then I take him straight to his cage without spraying him down, so he gets that benefit. That is actually a reward to him, not to have to get sprayed. He's funny. When he wants to take a bath, he's like Lorelei. If he wants to take a bath, that's great. But if you want to give him one, he doesn't want it. Now, one way they do like, all of them seem to like baths, is when you take them out to the aviary and it's a warm day, hotter day, and you put the misters on so that there's a mist coming down inside that aviary. Oh, they love that. I can't do that too often, except on hot, dry days, because I hadn't thought about this, but plywood is probably not the best thing to have that tile sitting on. If it gets wet somehow under that tile, that plywood, it tends to warp. So I try not to do that except on hot, dry days. Right, Bob? Right, Bob? Now you can try out a change. Now she likes to sit up here. I'm going to try changing things around a little bit. I'm going to try preening her top of her head while she's sitting here. See what she does. I normally don't do this kind of thing when I'm recording. So this would be unusual for her. Lucy, Lucy bird, Lucy. Hi, Luce. Hi, Luce. So what do you think? Do you like that? You do? Okay. Clack your beak a little bit. Okay. So what, Coco? You can try out changes, little changes here and there, and see how they work in your environment. Oh, geez. Bob? That's a good boy. You can try out changes in your environment and see how they work. Good, Bob? Good, Bob? This seems to be working pretty well with Bob. He's getting up on my shoulder and crawling around on my chest when he's not being territorial. There's nobody over here for him to be territorial about. He's not territorial towards Peaches in most cases, once in a while, but it's pretty rare. So when situations develop where, let's say, your bird's getting a little nippy, or your bird's starting to make a lot of squawking, where it's almost becoming a scream. A scream is where they just keep repetitively squawking every 2 seconds like that. So if that starts to look like it's showing up, make some changes and see what happens. Or look back and see what you've changed and see if you can fix it. Maybe something you've done. The odds are it is, because they're always watching us. Aren't you? Aren't you, silly? Well, I don't want you to throw your stick down here. Then if you can't find anything that you've done that may have affected it, try making some changes. If normally you take them out only at night, try taking them out in the morning for 5 or 10 minutes to fit it into your routine. If you're home all day, then take them out at odd times. Breaking up the routine can break up that wiring in the brain. You know, what wires together, fires together. What fires together, wires together. And once it gets wired in there, the only way to change it, the only easy way to change it, is to start doing things differently, rehearsing different behaviors. Okay? So one way to deal with habituated behavior is to rehearse different behavior. There was a book I read, I think the guy's name was George Smith. He was a psychologist, and he took the whole idea of psychology a lot differently than most people. What he said, and he was talking about us, about humans, not about birds, but what he said to do is when you want to change something, change it. Just start behaving differently. And then when you do that, after a while, you will start to notice that it becomes habituated. Now you're doing it the new way. I've got a good example of that in my life recently. I wanted to do something to keep my brain stretched. When I have those moments where I'm out with the birds in the aviary and I don't want to just sit there and zone out while they're not doing too much. So what I started doing is studying chess again. It's been a long time since I played chess. It wasn't easy in the beginning. It's like, oh boy. And now I can look at a chess puzzle and start to figure it out, or I could study some different tactics, and it's becoming a regular thing. I was like, oh, have I done any chess yet today? So it works that way with them too. If you make changes, right? Babaloo, baba 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 babaloo, baba 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 babaloo. If you make small changes around them, or even big changes, it can be a positive thing. But just be alert when you're doing it, okay? Change is one of those things that you want to be careful with. You know, like the person who changes their hair from brown to red, and I don't know, I didn't do anything. I don't know why my bird's suddenly starting to nip me. You get used to doing things a certain way. And when you make a change, I always change this. You know, I wear different clothes in the summer than I do in the winter. Yeah, but the birds don't understand that. I like to use that example when somebody goes on vacation and they come back and they go, oh, they walk up to try to hug their bird and their bird lunges at them. In the wild, and this is my theory, but in the wild, when a bird's not there for 2 weeks, it's dead. So imagine your Aunt Edna knocking on the door after she's been dead for 3 months and just walking into your house. You would be floored, right? Well, they kind of act like that. That might not be the reason, but they kind of act that way, so. Right, Bob? Pretty bird? Pretty bird? Pretty bird. Now, someone had asked, one of our patrons had asked, they wanted to see how I just interact and play with birds. If I'm just playing, so I'm going to play with Bob so you can kind of see how that's like. Hey, Bob. Hello, Bob. 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 What's Bob doing? Hello, Bob. Bob, what do you do? Kisses? Kisses? Bob kisses? No kisses for me? He says, why are you doing this in the middle of a video? Bob, kisses. Ah, good boy, Bob. Good boy. Oh, that's my good bird. Bob. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Bob. What are you doing, buddy boy? You little monster. You little monster bird. You are a monster, but a good monster. You are. You are a good monster. Nicely done there, Sugar. What? Babaloo. Hello, Babaloo. We'll do this while we're watching a movie. You know, we'll sit here, chatter back and forth, and right, Bob? Right, Bob? You got a bad hairdo today, Bob. Look at that. There we go. How do you do that? You mess up your crest all the time. No, Bob. My boy. Sugar bird. My boy. My boy. Bob, 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 Babaloo. There. Bob, 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 Bob. Do 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 do. Bum 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 bum. Babaloo, babaloo, baba baba babaloo, babaloo. Well, he's done with playing now. He just wants to go down and play with his toys. What? What? What, Lucy? Honk. Are you a pretty bird? Well, as a parting thought here, I wanted to show you guys how I hold a bird's feet. Now, when I'm carting birds around, what I will do is I hold their feet like this. Okay, you can see it better from this position. I hold their feet like that, okay? The other thing I do is if the bird is flighted, because I don't believe in birds not being flighted, and we're only talking about short distances, like from the house to the car, you're not going to put an aviator harness on out to the car and then take it off. You don't want them wearing a harness in the vehicle, because they could get wrapped up in something. It wouldn't be good. So you hold their feet like this, and then, if it's a flighted bird, I carry them like this. Now, the reason for that is, now a bird gets scared, it might nip. All right? So if you get bit and you're just holding their feet, the natural reaction of most of us is to let go. But if you've got your arm around him, that part will stay. So I'm not holding his feet now, but I have my arm wrapped around him, right? So he's not going to go anywhere. And then I can reposition myself so I have at least 1 foot. And if I have 1 foot hold, it's like this. 2 fingers over the top, 2 fingers down below. Like that. Okay? So Then once I get in position back on my hand, the way I want, I'm holding both feet, then I will grab him across here again. But it takes two. You have to have a hand wrapped around them when you're moving them, and then a hand, the other hand holding their feet. And that's in case there's a nip, all right? If you get nipped, you might let loose just as an automatic reaction. The odds are you're not going to let go with both at the same time. Now, most of these birds will not fly away. There are some who will, but most birds wouldn't. I think Lorelei would. She'll come back. Lorelei would fly away, but she would come back. Some birds might not do that, so you have to know your bird. And don't trust yourself with just one hand. Use a two-handed hold. One for the feet and one around the back. Now, if a bird is not flighted and there's no danger around, then you can just have them sit on your hand. I wouldn't have them on your shoulder, though, because there are hawks. Unless you're in an area where there aren't any hawks, okay, and you know there aren't any hawks around, they can see them before you can. Their vision is makes us look like snails. Their vision is so good. Most of these birds will look right up if there's a hawk. I mean, they'll look right at them, and they'll see them just like this. So watch your bird's eyes. A few birds I've noticed don't pay that much attention. I don't know why. Most of them will. Most of them will give an alarm call and or start looking straight up or wherever that bird may be. So who wants to say goodbye? Snowball, you want to say goodbye? No? Peaches, you want to say goodbye to the people? Say goodbye to the people. Peaches? You want to make a change? Let's some change today? You want to say goodbye to the people? This is a little different. You want to say goodbye? Peaches. 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 Yeah, you're not going to get all excited, are you? No, because I changed the room around and you're more interested in what's going on. I see.
We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @Chloe Sanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.